the setup play out. You've heard, um, a lot of times you'll hear like traders adding to winners. You need the market setup to do it, and not every setup's going to be that way. So letting a trade play out as well, you just have to either decide. We talk about not having a TP, but if you make the decision to cut a trade early, or it doesn't hit your, I call it more of your zone or window, you just, okay, that was your choice. There's nothing right or wrong about it. It's just a decision you made, and we don't always make, you know, the perfect decision. So just accept whatever decision you make, go back, look at it, and say, okay, why did you cut that? Because it felt, once again, Hope, this is going back to hearing, it felt good. I'm out of, I reduced pain. I'm out of the trade. I don't have to worry about it anymore.
Right.
That's a tough one to answer. It's different for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. Uh, Being able to stay in trades for longer periods of time, I kind of view that as a muscle, and you have to exercise that muscle in order to get your mindset around being able to stay in those trades a little bit longer. Soren, I don't know your experience in trading or anything like that, but I can remember expanding my time frames on my charts and learning about market profile, and getting into good trades, and just being so fearful that the trades were going to like turn around and take money away. I was always getting out of it, and it took some considerable amount of time to be able to recognize when you do have something good and to stay in it or add to it. I mean, you have Tom Hugard, who says, why would you get out of a trade that's moving your way? You should add to trades that are moving your way. And and everything that we do to get out of trades is as he says it, to avoid pain. We want to avoid pain. But you get out of a trade early to avoid pain, and then you watch it go your way, and there's more pain. So get comfortable being uncomfortable, Soren. Get comfortable being uncomfortable. JD, what's up?
What's up, guys? All right, we're back to normal, I think, here. Again, my apologies. I've been dealing with some tech gremlins today. Restarting my PC a couple of times, and yeah, we did it live. All right, let's move on. All right, Hoop, in my absence, did you guys talk about cattle? You were talking about it in the green room a little while ago. Did we do a dive into that?
We did. Yeah, we did.
Awesome.
We talked about how we didn't take out contract highs, and we've kind of rolled over here late in the day.
Cool. Very good. Another question coming from the chat. Thanks, Jack, for pulling this. Where do you find that delta info that we keep talking about? Is there a specific source that you're using to get that delta? I guess we don't have to talk about it.
Yeah. Well, everybody gets a little bit from different places. Yeah.
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 Understood.
Yeah, but we're not talking like options delta or gamma. We're talking futures delta, which is basically just an order flow tool. It just tells you how many more contracts traded on the offer, which is a buy market order, versus how many contracts traded on the bid, which is a sell market order. Every contract that trades on the offer adds 1 to delta. Every contract that trades on the bid using a sell market order is negative delta. So you take the positive delta minus the negative delta, and that's where you get that number. There are a lot of different platforms that have it. If you can get Quantower and attach it to Top Step X, and you'll be able to get it. There's different platforms that do have it. And we just like to keep an eye on it for ourselves and for everybody. Currently, there's 15,400 more contracts that traded on the bid using sell market orders in the ES for the regular trading hour session than contracts traded on the offer using buy market orders. So you see that the aggressors have been the sellers today. The aggressors were the sellers yesterday, but there were quiet, stronger buyers in the market yesterday, hence why the market pushed higher at the end of the day. We got a lot of day traders that are selling into those bids and selling into those bids and getting shorter and shorter that want to be flat at the end of the day. Well, if they're going to flatten out, they're going to have to turn buyers, and they're the ones that kind of continue to push price higher. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah,
Yeah, that was a big.
it's on different platforms, and you can always pay
Yeah,
attention to
yeah.
Top Step TV because we'll always tell you.
There were a lot of questions surrounding that yesterday. How did we have such high negative delta and still continue to bid up on the day? Why were we on our highs with negative delta increasing? Which is confusing, but just as you said, Og,
It
there's a
is.
couple of
Yeah,
different reasons for it. Uh,
yeah, you get
there were
you
more.
get longer time frame traders that are accumulating or liquidating positions, large positions, and they don't want to put all those numbers into the dome. So, like yesterday, we probably had some short covering in longer time frame. They were just placing bids and letting people hit those bids and then replacing those bids in very small ways over and over and over and over again. And so, most day traders aren't going to see that or be able to see that or even notice that, and that's when you get a situation where you end up with that short squeeze at the end of the day. We used to be able to kind of see that in the trading pit. If you were, I know you guys remember. I mean, you could be standing in the S&P pit and watch paper sell all day long, just paper selling, paper selling, paper selling. And well, they're selling it to the locals that are standing in the trading pit in large part. Well, when that happens, those locals, those speculators, those traders in the pit are going to end up really long because they're taking all these sell orders and making a market for them. And if they get too long, at the end of the day, they want to flatten up. They're going to have to turn sellers, and you're going to see price move to the downside. So we used to be able to see that in the trading pit. We can't see that on screen now. And keeping an eye on the delta is one way where you may be able to sense when some of those participants are in the market with you. Make sense?
Makes perfect sense. Makes very good sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oop, anything you want to add to that?
I just think larger institutions do a really good job. And you heard we talked about it like last week. Brian Shannon talked about how they're just really good at disguising what they do. We haven't seen much anything over a 500 lot across this dome, but all of a sudden you'll see a 4,000 contracts trade a minute. Once again, big institutions are always going to try and, do a little. Hope you and I were talking in the green room, the chicanery of getting some orders done, as we near all-time highs. People want to be a little crafty in getting in, out, positioning, and that's just what we're dealing with right now. So yeah. And the only other thing I watch as our guest comes in, I'm kind of interested, is that the bonds are near their lows of the day, and through this whole thing, I don't think with energy prices staying up that this whole economic mess is still hanging around. That's one thing I do see, even with equities at all time high. So
Yeah, we will get into that once our new best friend Ben Emmons comes on. Ben Emmons, CIO and founder of FedWatch Advisors LLC. He's also the managing director of Highline Asset Management. He's going to be joining us in just a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking inflation expectations, rate decisions, quite a few different things. It's going to be good. Hoag's going to be talking with Mr. Emmons, and yeah, it should be exciting. Great information coming your way. All right. It's 12:23. We got a piece of news to hit. If we're good to go on that, we'll give that another minute. Let's take one more question.
Okay.
All right. We got one about trading the dome from Courtney. For Hoag, JD, the Dome OGs, Hoop, you're part of this too. ES bids were relentless yesterday. Watching the dome, it was obvious that there was a shift in pace and order fills. Can you recall other times you've seen the dome relentlessly rebid like it did yesterday? I did not watch the order book during COVID, but I'm wondering if the COVID V reversal had a similar structural shift visible in the dome, possibly volume crush plus options market maker hedging that creates a buying feedback loop. Thank you for all you do. That question's from Courtney. And we just kind of covered that relentless buying. We were talking about negative delta with prices increasing. What does that mean? Are those iceberg orders coming into the market, or just those longer time frame traders stacking those bids and just relentlessly coming back into the market working by orders? We sort of just went through it. I mean, if you watch the dome long enough, you're going to start picking out these patterns more and more frequently. The more you get used to seeing them, the more you're going to notice it and the more you'll be able to react to it. But Hogue, in your experience watching the dome in situations like we had yesterday, what kind of information do you take away from it? Is it something you're looking at?
Well, what you're basically talking about is, you're seeing the increase in delta negativity yesterday because we had some stronger buyers in the market. It's difficult to see them in the dome. There are tools like Bookmap where you can kind of spot them. If you watch Delta, you can kind of spot them. But there have been a lot of times when I've seen this in the dome and in many different markets. It doesn't have to be the ES. I'm not real good at recognizing it in the Delta. I don't see it as often or as deep in the Nasdaq. But we've seen it a lot of times in many of the other markets, particularly this year in gold and in 2025 in gold. We saw that quite a bit. Um, and it's something that you're probably not going to see or be able to recognize that quickly. I'm sure that the COVID reversal and the way the market pulled out of those lows, I'm sure there was a lot of that. I can't tell you a specific time or a specific day when we may have seen that. Um, and when you're seeing those larger orders or you're seeing those larger participants, using iceberg orders, using growler orders, just continuing to consistently bid or offer the market, there is a loop to that because they're not just getting outright long or short thousands of contracts of the ES. They're hedging against something else. So when they're hedging against something, the feedback buying loop, if you will, in the S&Ps may continue for a while until they finish their accumulation or liquidation, and Elvis leaves the building. Sometimes Elvis just leaves the building and your shorter time frame traders get paid. Sometimes. Great question though.
Excellent question. Yeah. Thanks for that answer too, Hogue. Hoop, anything you want to add to that? We got a couple minutes here. Take it away.
The biggest thing, good eye, by the way, Courtney. I mean, you could see yesterday how thick we talk about how thick the ladder gets at times. And we could see it as we kind of went into just rally mode yesterday. If you looked at all the bids, right now you only see 60, 70, 60, 70. For almost 10 handles down, there were 100 lots. So they just get up underneath it, Hogan, the offers get thinner, and then you just see those orders just keep pushing, and they just keep eating those offers up. So it was apparent at times yesterday. Today, once again, you can look at offers. There's nothing much over 100 lot for a good 20 handles. So I think right now we're in a little different. As once again, as you get towards all-time highs, it gets a little bit different. But if you ever want to see fast moving, go watch. There's some great old videos out there on the flash crash. Go watch it. You want to see a dome move with size? There's some good clips out there of the guy used to trade over at the CME, Ben Lichtenstein. If you ever want to see a dome move, go watch that video for a couple of minutes. It's epic.
I feel lucky I was on vacation during the flash crash.
Yeah.
I feel lucky that I was not there.
All right, guys, let's take a quick news break. Then we're going to bring in our new guest. Mr. Ben Emmons is here. I see him in the green room. He's getting ready to go. Real quick, though, if you're looking for a creative way to utilize AI Starbucks and ChatGPT are teaming up. Take a look at this. Starbucks is testing a new AI-powered feature that suggests drinks based on how you're feeling. That's right. The tool, now in beta inside ChatGPT, lets users ask for recommendations based on mood, cravings, or even a photo. It's one of the first examples of a major restaurant chain using AI to shape how customers decide what to order. The move reflects a broader push toward personalization, but also raises questions about how much consumers rely on AI to make everyday decisions.
Well, I know what it's going to tell me I want.
Would you use
It's
AI
probably
to
not
tell
coffee.
you?
No.
Probably
Does
not
AI know what I
No.
want on my hamburger too? Yeah. All right, guys, it's time to do the thing. There's the doorbell. Come on
There we
in.
go.
Who's here? Mr. Emmons, Ben Emmons, welcome to Top Step TV. How are you today? Ben Emmons, CIO and founder of FedWatch Advisors LLC, also managing director of Highline Asset Management. Welcome to Top Step TV, Mr. Emmons. How are you doing this afternoon, sir? Oh, we got a mute button. Unmute, please.
Unmute. You hear me now?
There he is. Yeah. I've been having that problem myself today.
So great to be here, guys. I mean, I'm completely overdressed here now. So next time we do this, it will be a different, a different attire. I come in the door here, right? Not naked, obviously, but at least a little looser up. Sure. I'm too corporate here. Anyhow, thank you for having me. It's great to be on. It's the first time I come on the show, and I know Mia well from a different network, so she introduced me here. So that's how we got here today.
Well, we are very happy that you're here. We're blessed to have you here. You are a consummate economic professional, and we're looking forward to having you even just for a few minutes to talk about some macroeconomic things. Now, you sent an email earlier today about the musical chairs at the Fed. Want to talk a little bit about what that means and see what that sounds like?
Yeah, that's right. And it's appropriate, I guess, because of what I do, Fed watching, right? As in everything about the Fed. Which, by the way, just to explain, is that just is watching itself, but there's also trading, right? I think it's interesting to pull in the Fed noise and create a trading signal out of it. I have some clients who do that. I help them with a model on that. But this note today was really about, the noise about Powell leaving as chair next month. Will he not? And all the drama that's coming along with that. And I got questions about, like, how does this now really work? What's exactly the procedure? Because I think what the confusion is that he will have to stay on as chair as long as Kevin Warsh isn't confirmed. Now, Kevin Warsh will be in the Senate next week for his confirmation hearing. Will be interesting hearing, right? Because he's involved in a lot of stuff, and apparently he's got all kinds of stakes in Bitcoin companies. As the news out today, you get a lot of questions. At the end of the hearing, he will not be confirmed as nominee for chair because, as everyone knows, there's one senator, his name is Tom Tillis, who has decided to say, hey, look, you're probing the Fed, you're coming at the Fed with this criminal probe. That's ridiculous. We can't have that. As long as that probe goes on, I will not confirm anyone for the Fed, whether it's a chair or whomever comes on the Fed there. So Tom Tillis has become a very important figure suddenly in the expectations what could happen with the Fed from here. And so the first part of the note explains a lot about the procedure of, how does this change happen with this Fed chair if you don't have a confirmed candidate? We had an example of this in the past with Janet Yellen, who resigned earlier, and then Stanley Fischer had to be the temporary Fed chair until Powell became the formal new chair. So this is not new, and I think it's not going to cause much of any friction in the markets itself. But this graph that you're showing, and then I'll stop for a moment, that is actually really important. That's more market stuff, which is more interesting. So yeah, that's where the Tom Tillis effect comes in. If Tillis sticks to his guns, we're going to have this very strange situation in the rates market for a while.
So if Tillis blocks Warsh, okay, so Powell his term is up, but he can remain the Fed chair until somebody else is confirmed. Is that correct? What if he doesn't want to? What if he leaves?
Well, yeah. First of all, to your question, yes, that's correct. So, what Fed Powell will become? He's the chair currently. He will become the